You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 162 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by producer Chris Guffey and co-host Dakota Davis.
Today's episode features the two of us. This is episode number 2 in the candidate series for the 2020 primaries for the Democrat and Republican parties. We are featuring our special guest today is Mr. Kim Cronk, who is a sitting commissioner. Last week we had on Bobby Plummer. This week we are moving forward again with another commissioner show. We're going to be talking to Kim about all things with the role of the commissioner. Why he is the best pick in his mind, why he thinks you should vote for him. He's got to be making the case. We're also going to be talking to him once again about Memorial Park and the Henry County Jail, of course, and then some inside baseball with Henry County politics. But all politics are local, and you have a county just like ours, no matter where in the country you live. So make sure you stick around for this episode.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. This episode is sponsored, Dakota.
That's right. This episode is brought to you by our good friends at Weiland's Flowers. Those people did both of our weddings. They did the flowers for both weddings that have happened in Boss Hog of Liberty land. Maybe in the future there will be another wedding that they will also provide. Hint, hint, Chris Guffey. They do all kinds of good things. They need your support right now. They're open. They have been doing contactless delivery since before it was cool. They will deliver your flowers. And you don't even have to talk to anybody to do it. If you just want to be complete shut-in, they will. You can
order it on your computer and have to be at the door of whomever you picked.
That's right.
Or you can send yourself some flowers.
That's right. They need it's super easy. It's super fast. They are a fantastic service. You have zero excuses to not be buying your wife or significant other flowers at this point.
Or
There's no excuse.
They could buy you flowers, Kim. Isn't that right? It works both ways.
That's right.
Anybody can buy flowers.
Correct.
So make sure you go place an order and make sure that they know that the folks at Boss Hog of Liberty sent you so that they know that they can get some good feedback from this sponsorship.
We just did about 15 minutes of Patreon talk. Myself, Dakota, Kim, and Chris. Found out that Chris is not a hoarder. I had my Raised in Arizona moment, and our friend Zach Burcham went a little crazy on the state of Indiana. That's your primer for Patreon. You can sign up at any level. Go to patreon.com/bosshogofliberty. Find us. All of the episodes are out there. The little bonus content you get. And we've got 4 major helpers over there. Craig DaCosta, John Phillips, Christy Avery, and Chris Lamb all donate $50 or more a month to the show to help us get on the air and help cover costs. So you guys are amazing as always.
That's right. Do we have anything else that we need to take care of?
I don't know. You want to sell some T-shirts, or you just want to move on?
Yeah, that's right. We do. Our T-chip stores are still online. We are selling our merchandise. It has our logo. It goes tchip.com/BHO01, 2 or 3. Chris Guffey will post the links in this episode's comments section to make it super easy for you, but that's where you get your merchandise.
So we are joined tonight by Kim Cronk. He's the county commissioner for the Middle District. Last week you had on the show Bobby Plummer, who is running for the Southern District County Commissioner seat. Kim is running in the Middle District, and just like last time, the entire county votes in your race. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you've been is this a few terms now in this seat? You're running for your fourth term?
Yes.
And then previously you were, if I remember right, school board member in Shenandoah.
Yeah, I started out as a school board member at Shenandoah for 6 years. Then I was on the sheriff's department at that time. Then ran for county council and served on the county council and county sheriff and county commissioner.
And then you had a full 8-year term as county sheriff.
That's correct.
Yep. All right. Dakota's going to help you out with the mic. That way we can get you on there. So tell us about the role, just a high view of county commissioner. Just paint the picture of what you've sat in the role now for looking for the fourth term. What's the life of a commissioner?
Life of commissioner, basically to take all the complaints that come in for county government, and we serve as what we call the executive, or what the state calls the executive of the county, but I don't really look at it that way. We're just the working part of the county, and we try to help deal with the public to make the community better and deal with the problems that come in and assist our citizens.
Is it personally offensive when there's something called Henry County Pothole available at Weenie World? Is it too much?
No, it's not.
If you hang out in the Facebook group, Citizens of Henry County, then Kim Cronk is the guy that you tag to report a pothole.
That's true. I receive all the pothole complaints in the countywide, and do our best to get them fixed. But there's a lot of roads in Henry County,
especially from about January, February through about this time of the year when you're finishing the freeze-thaw cycle. It's the roads explode on you.
Well, that's right. It's like 3:00 in the morning when someone wants to complain about a pothole, have a complaint. they'll ding me on my phone and it'll wake me up.
They won't call you anymore though, right? Now your house phone doesn't ring. They just tag you on Facebook.
Right. Usually if I need to discuss with them, I'll have them call me. Yeah. So that's true. I'm glad you guys noticed that.
Yeah. My wife's grandmother says every year I call Kim Cronk and have him take care of the potholes in front of the house. She makes sure that it gets done every year. And it works. Whatever you're doing, like the potholes always get filled. I'll say that.
Oh, I have to come
in front of my house anyway. Maybe you just show favoritism towards Kathy Painter. I don't know.
No, we try to accommodate the best we can, but there's so many potholes in every county, including ours, that you try to get them. We have to commend our highway department for the hard work they do.
We have an extreme amount of miles of county road for the amount of population that we have.
That's correct.
And that's something that in earlier episodes, Councilman Clay Morgan, he hammered on that topic a lot with in the finances of county government and how much that takes with our relatively small income bracket here in the county and relatively small amount of people, just taxpayers in general.
You just try to do your best with the money you got.
So your background is, like Jeremiah said, school board, but then also you were the sheriff.
That's correct.
Right? Now, how many years were you the sheriff?
I was sheriff for 8 years. I served on the sheriff's department for 38 years in various different capacities. And I hate to say that because that makes me look old. I guess I am old. Older, yeah.
38 years. And then, so when you retired, was that when you decided to run for commissioner, or was it before you retired?
Under state law, and prior to that, you could serve both, be an employee of a government entity and serve as an elected official. And I served as a commissioner for 2 terms in council and on school board while I was a county employee. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So take me back all those years ago, whenever you first decided to run for commissioner, and tell me why you decided to run.
Right. Well, I was just leaving after I finished my term as commissioner, I went back to in charge of investigations of the sheriff's department, and I maintained an elected position for several years, and I decided to run for commissioner at that point to continue my service to the citizens of the county, and that's the way I wanted to accomplish that.
All right. I'm waiting on you for
it's not all linear, right? So you've had discontinuous terms as commissioner.
That's correct.
Right? That's the way that fits together. I don't have it all memorized. So that's why I was trying to remember, because I remember at one point you were council, I don't know, 12, 10, 15 years ago, somewhere in that range. You served on the council as well. So I was trying to do the math of 4 years. I remember you being sheriff. So then you were commissioner before you were even sheriff. Is that right? As well? Or was it the other side of it?
The other side.
Okay. All right. I'm on track now. All right. So let's speed things ahead to what you've been dealing with now as commissioner. And we were talking a little bit off the air of COVID, and on the Patreon side, we've had this conversation. you determine county ordinances.
That's correct.
Sorry.
Dakota needs something. Yeah. He didn't bring a pen with him. That is shameful.
I know.
Just truly shameful. I'm sure you've never dealt with a pandemic like this. Nobody has. So you all of a sudden got you and Commissioner Ed found yourself dealing with, hey, you are the first enforcement agency or the county executive deciding what's open, what's not open. And before the state stepped in, the county wound up coming out with an ordinance. Right. It was March 23rd.
That's correct.
That was a 60-day ordinance.
Right.
It's not an easy spot to be in. Help me understand how you go from, hey, this wave is coming to here's what the county's going to do to take action, and how do you make those decisions? Because this is probably, I don't know if people have been discussing it, but it's one of the biggest issues that the biggest ways county government has touched people this year is the role of the commissioner in this way. Right.
Well, it took a large amount of discussion and meetings with the Henry County Health Department. We had to correspond with the State Department of Health, the governor's office before he came out with his rules, and tried to coordinate them the best we could and try to accommodate to our community the best we could, trying to minimize the damage that they would do to our community. And we knew it was going to be very traumatic, closing businesses and trying to limit the public's access to the community. And luckily we have a good health department, and they came up with a preliminary plan, and through our attorney, Joel Harvey, we was able to develop what we felt was a fair plan.
And before the state put their ordinance in, there was about a week and a half, 2 weeks period of time where your group was basically in charge of enforcement more than the state was.
That's correct.
So it became the commissioner's responsibility. You guys were the ones having to field calls of, hey, so-and-so is open, and you're kind of having to split the split the atom, right?
Right.
So-and-so is open, and I don't think they're essential. Well, they think they're essential, and having to the Pandora's box that got open there all of a sudden is just that's the part that I just think is incredible.
The first day was very difficult. I didn't count the calls, but probably 500 or 600 at least.
Yeah.
People were scared, and they're still scared. And no one knows what's going to happen, and it's starting to go back to normal a little, but people are still concerned, and then we have to weigh the balance. And then you look at the criteria that's set out by the governor and by our health department, whether they're essential or non-essential. We try to be as cooperative as we can. And I think it worked out, but there were several times that business owners would call us, family members call us, and they would be upset and crying and stuff, and they just didn't want to do. So, and we tried to help them through that. And even if it meant counseling for the people, we directed them to the location or to a counselor to try to help them.
The sticking point that I personally had was the amount of time, where a lot of communities had said, hey, we're going to go 2 weeks at a time, or we're going to go 4 weeks. Henry County said, hey, no, we're going to go through May 24th, I think, or March
23rd.
May 23rd. Which is, I guess now we're celebrating that. That's like this week.
Yeah.
It would have been, yeah. We're coming up on the anniversary of when it was all going to be.
But at
free.
that time, it was 8 weeks away.
That's correct.
Right. Help us with the logic of, hey, how did you guys arrive at that date?
Right. Well, in the meeting we had with the health department and the mayor and several people were there, we discussed the length of the ordinance. And it was Dr. Miller that made the recommendation that we go lengthy so we don't have to amend the ordinance and have several ordinances that changed and stuff. So we had a status quo, and knowing that the 23rd, May the 23rd was a long period. However, the pretext was that we could dissolve the ordinance right away when it needed to be done. And that's, I guess, unfortunately, it's went to almost the 23rd, and we're still dealing with it. But we have done away with our ordinance and went to the governor's orders.
So basically about a week and a half ago, the county rescinded the ordinance, and now we're following what the state's
Well, I think that, so that was what you just brought up was a big point, because whenever I first heard it, May 23rd, I thought, it just kind of blew me away that we had decided to go 8 weeks, but the governor at that time was still operating in 2 week increments.
Right.
And I thought, why are we skipping so far ahead, especially being such a rural community?
Right.
And, most people are pretty spaced out. Obviously, we have some industry in the county where that is difficult. But, and then I found out that, the commissioners could rescind at any time. Right. And I thought, well, and I kind of had, just being involved in just kind of being on the sidelines of local politics for a while. It was like, okay, they're making this ordinance right now for 8 weeks. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this was my assumption at the time, was that they're making this ordinance right now with the assumption that in the future, the governor is going to have a plan, a concrete plan, and they want to make sure that they have got their rules in place for the duration of that, and they don't have to make it again.
That's correct.
Okay,
and that was our opinion at that point. Now, when the mayor or the governor come out with his first news conference, you could, when you watched it, you interpreted it one way. When you got the hard copy, it was totally different. Then
the first news conference sounded like we were on lockdown.
That's right. But when you got the written copies, it exempted certain things in county governments, and they threw it back up on the locals. Yeah, and that's what made it more difficult.
So, have you become a golfing expert
I
here
knew you
lately?
bring that up.
There's not a topic that's been more in the I don't know if it's the easiest for folks to comprehend or what, but all of a sudden, the ordinance became, well, why the hell can they golf? And they're not golfing the right way. And I thought, well, shoot, here they go again. Now they got to decide this one. So how did that process go?
That was the most difficult process, I promise you.
Because obviously all of the politicians are massive golfers, and you're looking out for the golfers. That's why that's set up that way, right?
Well, I'm not a golfer, but from the beginning, that was a bone of contention with the doctor. And he wanted to put restrictions on. And there was a commissioner, more than one, that didn't necessarily agree with it. But we were at the point that we were going to try things. If we need to change them, we would. And that's why we tried it to start with. Because we knew no details of how you caught the virus. And things have changed a lot from the beginning. And our goal was to change it to protect the public safety. And we didn't want people dying and stuff. And we didn't know. And that's what we learned. And we loosened up our rules. And also, if you looked in the state rules, they didn't restrict certain elements of the golf carts. But we did. And that was the bone of contention. And I understand. Now, I'm not saying I agreed 100%, but we voted for that at the recommendation at the health.
Well, that was that's one thing that was a big topic on this, or I guess subtopic on this topic of discussion on episode 161 with Bobby Plummer. Was cost-benefit analysis, was how much, what is the benefit of keeping these things closed, and is it worth it to the people who are running these businesses, or is it worth the mental anguish for the citizens of the county to deal with them? Because there is a major cost to keeping things shut down versus having them opened up. But, I think that, and I commended the governor big time with his plan, especially whenever you look at other states and they don't have dates. They might have set stages, right, but we have concrete dates that we can look forward to in the future, right, as long as we don't fall back on those. And I
watched the governor's press conference Wednesday. All of the dates are in pencil.
Yeah.
He very clearly said that they're in pencil.
Well, they're
not concrete. They're
like we said in the Patreon portion. That was especially this weekend. They set the date, and then everyone started freaking out, going, "You're seriously going to open this? Like you're going to set the next stage the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend?"
Well, that was the big complaint that people had when he announced the stages before. Is, hey, you're allowing certain things to open during Memorial Day weekend. You're killing us here. And that was my big complaint before he announced the reopening strategy was, hey, as far as people know, on Saturday, this was the Thursday that he announced it, on Saturday, everything's open again. Everything's legal again. Malls are reopening. Right. You haven't told us what you want to do. And it's my two complaints that I have for the governor and the way he's handled things are if he's been unclear or he's gotten to something and not told you what they're going to do, or if he says one thing and then he changes it. Businesses demand predictability,
right?
And for staffing, for everything else. And if it's unpredictable, you just start to
But that's why I wanted to give you guys a kudos for following for just adopting the state guidelines.
Right. And that was our intent, but we didn't know when that was going to happen. We didn't know if it was going to happen. And we had to do something for our community because we didn't want people dying. We didn't know what was causing it again. And,
it's a tough spot. I don't envy anybody in that.
And people don't realize on the local level that decisions like that can be that detrimental to our community, but it can.
Yeah.
And that's like the nursing home issues and the prison and the jails and things like that. Everybody's got families, everybody lives here, and we got to protect the citizens. And I got calls, and people say, well, we don't agree with the 23rd.
Yeah.
But all we ask is, and many people said this, all you guys maintain a level head and protect us, and we respect that.
Yeah.
We may not agree, but we respect it.
It is, it was a kind of freaky whenever like I said, if I hadn't been involved and kind of have seen the thought process of local government or the wheels turning in local government, it freaked me out anyway that it was the 23rd. And then I sat down and thought about it, and it's like, I knew it. I knew where it was going, and I knew why, but it was still like, man, the 23rd, like 8 weeks. That's a long time.
I can say I was definitely one of those calls.
Well, I just getting ready to say Chris Guffey was one of my first calls.
I sure was.
He says, I need you to come on, boss. Oh, now.
I was like, hey, listen, Kim, we got to talk about this. He's like, call me. I'm like, all right.
He did. And I said, I would rather the health department come on and give their side of the story because they're handling the situation with us and they have more knowledge on the health issues and stuff associated with it. So, but Chris was one of the first people.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Oh, we got the number.
That's right.
All right. So let's pivot from the COVID side and look back at something in the time that you've been a commissioner. Land use has been a big conversation, right? So ordinances are another big part of it. And the commissioners have influence over the planning commission as well. The commissioners have appointments to the planning commission, and the commissioner serves there. And something in the last 5 years before the wind conversation happened, there was another big conversation that took place in our community, and that was with animal feeding operations.
That's correct.
And there was a moratorium. Nothing was happening. The planning commission and the commissioners worked together and developed a scorecard. Right. And I want to hear how you viewed that controversy, that process, and how that's working now, looking back in the past, and then have that conversation and look at how that could maybe be used in other areas, or if you think there are other opportunities for scorecards.
Well, when I first come on as commissioner, one of the major controversial issues was the CAFOs, and we got complaints that they felt the farmers at least felt that there should be a different process developed because it was turning into major controversy. And we established a committee involving members of the public and the farmers and city people too, to review and to come up with a scoring procedure and to run it through the planning commission and to make the decisions. And they developed it, and I think it's 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, it's been
a substantial time ago, and I think we've only had one case that we've had to score, and Darren Jacobs from the Planning Commission scored it. And there's different levels. They have to meet certain criteria, such as setbacks from residences, church, and other criteria. And they have to score a minimum of 300 to proceed to the next step. And if they score enough to get to 400, then Darren can issue a permit through his office
without having to be reviewed or
Then if they don't get to there, then it has to go to the planning commission for review of the process.
So in my mind, what that process does is it depoliticizes some of the emotion that happens.
Right.
There.
We try to move the politics out of it and try to go to more straightforward procedures. Now, even Purdue and other entities in the state has called and got copies of our ordinance and stuff, and that they're adopting similar things that we're doing or have done.
Other counties have put in the scoring systems. All right, so that one you consider a success.
Yes. So far.
Okay.
I'm sure there's pros and cons. I'm sure, but
do you think there should be any the last two county commissioner cycles, 2016 and 2018? wind was the biggest issue and wind ordinances. With COVID, I don't know that it's been as front and center this cycle as it has been in the past.
Right.
There was a change made to a wind ordinance 2 years ago. Do you anticipate any additional changes in the next 4 years in this term if you're serving? Or
Well, every ordinance we have periodically should be reviewed, and like the data and the information concerning the health, etc., changes, and we need to review all of them and receive input from the experts and the public regarding those and the changes. So even the CAFO ordinance we need to review. As the land use ordinances, we need to review those periodically too, because times change.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else on land use, Dakota?
I don't think so.
You get an asphalt plant
Can
anytime
you?
soon?
Pardon me?
We get an asphalt plant anytime soon?
Well, see, there's other issues that has
That's another big one that got tossed in the planning.
That's
commission.
an old one.
That was an old one, but that
We're
was
playing the
another-
hits here, Kim.
That was very controversial, and the planning commission did rule 100% in favor of the asphalt plant. And I'm not against the asphalt plant. It came to the commissioners, and Ed Eunice was on the planning commission. He voted for it. We got to the hearing at the commissioners, and we received input. And again, it was packed.
Yep.
And
The public was not in favor.
that's correct. And the location was the factor, and it was near a housing district in that area. The commissioners overturned the decision of the planning commission at that time, and we turned it down. And Ed Eunice, he voted against it, and so Bill Cronk.
Right.
Yes. That was another
there-
controversy. But there was another one that was the ethanol plant out here on
North of town.
north
yeah.
of town. Yes, and it's important that
Kind of stinks. Yeah.
It's
have
good.
you?
It's good to know you can pack a room from time to time, isn't it, Kim?
Yeah. Well, it's difficult, I promise you. But
Have you driven around ethanol plants? Like, they actually, I personally think that they smell very good. Like, I really actually enjoy
Right.
the smell of an ethanol plant. It's a weird thing. I don't know why, but it's there.
right.
It's kind of off topic, but yeah.
Right. And I had nothing against the ethanol plants or the asphalt plant. Matter of fact, the asphalt plant probably would be a great asset to us right now.
We've actually talked about that a lot on this show about how big of an asset that would be for our county. If you want to keep complaining about roads, then you shouldn't have been against the asphalt plant.
I understand that.
Especially sending our highway department up to Delaware County to go get hot asphalt
depends on
instead
what-
of cold pack.
If you're north, you go one location. You go south, you
Yeah,
go
that's true.
to Rush County, and you have to go different places.
That's true. The ones that get patched on my road probably come from Rush
Right.
County. So.
Well, I think if it would come up again in a different location, there's a high probability it would pass.
I was at
Yeah.
that.
The location was the issue.
I was at that meeting, and then ultimately it was because it was between Spiceland and Newcastle on
Right.
the State Road 3 corridor.
Right.
And it wasn't in the industrial park. It was
Right.
It was just
We can put that and the ethanol plant right next to the generating facility on 38.
By my house.
oh NIMBY strikes not in my backyard.
Well, honestly, I'm not sure that the asphalt plant could be an issue. I'm not sure about the ethanol plant because
I'm not sure
I'm
there's
from a
one.
farming family, and that's I don't think that's a
Can you one more thing on land use? Can you do away with the 5 acre rule for raising chickens?
I did
Can
hear
that-
Monday night the city council was starting to take this up. The Newcastle City Council was starting to
Yeah.
talk about a limited number of hens.
Our friend Aaron Dickin, who we keep blaming for the situation in Newcastle, is the one that actually brought it up. We're getting things done here.
Well,
You know
that's
why?
good, but I was an enforcement officer for the town of Spiceland when they had their controversy for the chickens, and it's quite a controversial thing. Now, a small amount of chickens may be okay, but we also get complaints. We did that Wayne County and other counties have big CAFO chicken facilities, and they bring the manure to Henry County.
Chickens
it's not
are
good.
pretty
Yeah.
gross. They're
Yeah,
a pretty
yeah.
gross animal.
I would
it's-
encourage the county to look at it and say, hey, if you're a residential family, if you want to have 4 to 6 hens, then let them have it. If you have,
Shoot, you can even ban roosters. I don't
yeah,
care.
just
Like,
just hens only. But
Well, outside the city limits, we don't have a ban on them.
I think.
well, the zoning says that you have to have
zoning
5
says
acres to have any
acres.
livestock. Right now, we consider them to be livestock.
I was
so
going
it's
to say you
this-
consider them to be livestock for sure.
yeah, we consider them livestock.
They can't be
Livestock-
pets?
No, well, I mean, it could be an
There we
emotional
go.
support.
These are my.
It could be an emotional support chicken.
Well, that's right.
I get depressed if I don't.
Maybe
eat
we
eggs.
just heard the loophole right here. Wink, wink. If you got your emotional support chickens, there will be no enforcement.
Now I can see
in
Dakota
Henry
going to the
County.
city council meeting with these pet pigs.
Hold on, that won't work. That won't work. There was a lady who tried to claim an emotional support pig, and
that's
the
in it.
city made her get rid of
Well,
it.
that was the city's rules. We just heard that the
That was
interpretation
sad.
from
Whatever
the
happened to
commissioners
that?
might be a little different.
Whatever. Well, let's be honest. The city is Democrat controlled, so it's a little bit different. But whatever happened to that pig? Do you know, Chris?
It was probably put down.
Bacon.
That's kind of sad.
I heard bacon. That's the rumor I heard.
that poor lady.
It was
being
available-
Democrat control. What's the opinion of the Democrats on the chickens?
Well, they're just a more oppressive regime.
Oh, okay. I had to think about the Republican stand on that.
I'm pretty sure I heard I heard some sort of a chicken waterboarding type threat from Councilman Walden, where he's talking about ammonia on a ammonia on a blanket over your
I think
head.
that-
It was very.
I
It
think
sounded very aggressive. I don't
The
know.
quote from Walden was something like, "If you want chickens, then go put an ammonia-soaked rag over your head," because that's basically the same thing as cleaning out a chicken coop.
It is bad.
They are pretty gross.
But you can choose to do that if you want to. All I know is that folks tried to go to the grocery store a couple months ago and you couldn't find eggs at the Aldi.
Well, that was
But if
my
you had
thing.
5 or 6 hens at home, then you've got as many eggs as you can stand for your family, and you can give them out to your friends.
In light of
And it's
the
great for kids to learn
coronavirus, just ask any local butcher or any person that raises livestock right now. They're totally swamped with orders. I heard that there was one butcher shop that in Henry County that was backed up 6 months now.
And that's lucky.
Yeah.
I talked to the guy yesterday, and he made his appointment. And they said 2 years if you're lucky.
Wow.
And that's
I've been saying the last month or so, I think the best small business opportunity right now is probably to open up a butcher house.
I've had 2 calls on that.
Yeah.
And
We
they
should
want to
be,
know the criteria for to open up the butcher houses in Henry County.
What do we need?
You know, if you talk to your grandparents,
Who's state's regulated? and
Oh my
federal.
gosh.
if you talk to your
What
grandparents,
happened to home
right
rule,
now,
man? Let's go.
They were.
You got to bribe You got to bribe Aaron Dickin and Darren Jacobs, and we're good to go.
Well, I think we need to bring Aaron Dickin in to answer these questions.
Aaron's been here 3 or 4 times.
Well, I know, but you didn't ask him that question, I bet.
About the slaughterhouse?
Yes.
Well, next time. I'll put it on the top of the
Okay.
list. Kim said
Slaughterhouse
we need to
next time.
ask you about a slaughterhouse at Maine and Riley. There's an empty house there. There used to be a dentist office that we could tear down and build a microprocessing facility.
Right. In reality, it is a big problem that we're facing.
Yeah.
And there's going to be
Yeah.
a shortage of
We need to eat.
meat.
You know, if you talk to my grandparents, Jeremiah's grandparents,
They're no longer with us.
then you probably heard stories of them being raised, and their family had a milking cow that they would have inseminated and give birth, and then once the calf was old enough, then they would either sell it or try to have another dairy cow, and then the older one would get butchered, and they would also have chickens and have a garden.
I don't know how your grandparents grew up, but mine had a real ranch in South Dakota. There was no insemination. There were bulls involved.
No, not my family. But my family just had like small areas of land, and they weren't high on the hog, so to speak. But I wonder often if we're getting back to that, because I see all of my friends talking about gardening. I've been reached out to probably 2 or 3 times about how to get into hunting. I think this has kind of awoken a lot of people to the fact that our food supply is not as stable as what you thought it was. People, you go to the grocery store and your food is there, but that can slip away at a moment's notice, and you need to be able to feed your family.
Right.
And you know what? Chickens are a great way to do that.
Yeah.
They're easy and they don't take up a lot of space, Aaron.
Right. Well, when I was showing cattle with my family, we raised steers, and we would show them in the show arena. Then we go to I think it was Imge.
Yep.
And they would
In
slaughter them. We also went to Chicago, and we won several contests with that. And that was part of our showing projects. And it's hard to do, but that we learned from that. So,
Absolutely.
yes. And it is kind of disheartening to go into Walmart and all the meat counters are empty.
Yeah.
And I've seen that twice.
It's kind of scary.
Yep.
It is not something we expected. My family we have put more meat in our freezer and more form of fish. We've been going to Summit Lake and cleaning out the perch and bass, and we've been feeding with fish because we're able to do it. I guess that's the option. But it'd be nice to be able to add some eggs and chicken into it too.
True. Well, that was the big controversy when we was doing the restrictions. Are you closing the parks? Are you closing the walking trails? Well, if we close the parks and the walking trail, all we do is confine more people, and we're going to increase domestic suicides and other situations. It's going to cause mental disorder.
All of a sudden, a woman in a bad situation is stuck in her house with a domestic abuser.
That's correct. That's correct. In Indianapolis, when this is going on, first started, domestic and a female police officer gets shot and killed.
Yep.
Well, I can't say that was the factor,
happened.
but it happened, and it could be a contributing factor.
Yeah.
And we're putting our police officers and our first responders in danger by doing that. So that's why we didn't close our parks and our trails.
Well, the more items that got restricted, the more folks said, "Okay, I'm going to go do something else." So when you can't go to the gym, then people start going to the park. And then when the parks start to get restricted, they say, okay, I'm going to go camping. Well, the camping gets closed down.
Right.
So the next thing you know, you go to Summit Lake and there's 300 boats out in the water because there's no gate fee, and it's the one thing you could do. And the golf courses get busy. The more you restrict, the more folks say, okay, I'm going to do this other thing.
That's right.
And people are still going to find entertainment.
Right.
You can only do so much to control them, and they're only going to be, we'll say, compliant for so long before they're going to find something to do.
That's right. My Memorial Park, probably our activity was the greatest it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
There was days that I went out there every day. There was cars circled the water. And there was people fishing and just people doing things. Even though they couldn't use the campground, they had something to do. And we had walkers and stuff. So.
Yep.
Speaking about Memorial Park, we'll go ahead and tackle this section.
Mask, so that's all right.
The Memorial Park Board there's been a lot of drama associated with the park board in the past couple of years. It seemed like it kind of started as soon as Jeremiah left.
No, the drama was there before. Probably when I got appointed.
Yeah, when you got it started. I mean, we really started hearing a lot about it with the Doughboy statue, and then it just started a giant avalanche from there. The biggest question we have for someone in your position is, number one, just are you happy with the current direction of the park, or would you like to see other changes?
I don't like the controversy. No, I haven't been but to one meeting in a year. And that
one park board meeting.
Yes, and that turned into controversy. But, we're at the point we all need to be working together, and we need to stop the controversy because we probably got one of the nicest parks, or could have one of the nicest parks in the state of Indiana. And the controversy is hurting the park, and we need to stop. And the volunteerism is great, but we're getting to the point that the volunteerism is getting run away because of the controversy. And we need to stop. And we appoint the park board. And our intent was never to cause controversy on the park board. And Jeremiah's been on it.
Yep.
And there's been controversy for 25 years.
Absolutely.
In some aspect of it. It's competition, and like the cattle people, the show people, individuals, and different other organizations, they compete for the space and stuff, and they're proud of it, but it gets a little aggravating to see people fighting. And if there was a magic solution, that would be great. And Jeremiah's been there, so what is the magic solution?
We've got a lot of stakeholders out there, Kim. You've got the Expo Center, you've got the Veterans Group, you've got the actual park board, you've got the 501c3 that benefits the park board. You've got you've got a number of volunteer groups that come out. You've got people that rent regularly out there. The Saddle Club has leases. So you've got an alphabet soup of different groups that are serving. It's not easy. It's not easy, and I'm not sure that we've got a complete cohesive direction.
I'm not sure we do either. And before the expo started, we went to Greenwood and looked at their facility and 4-H facilities and how they was doing stuff, and trying to get some example how we could bring everybody together. And we haven't got there yet. And I'm not sure how to get to the next step.
Now, I know I will say the Expo Center is moving forward with the area that's funded. So one of the two buildings that they've got designed or is going to get built, they've got a contractor hired, and that's going to happen. Right. The monument's been refurbished and relocated. The Veterans Museum, a lease is either very close to being done or is in place for the downstairs space.
I read it the other day. Yes, it's close.
Yeah. So progress is being made on all of these. The Saddle Club's got another long-term lease.
Sure.
So where they're set. So things are progressing. Things are working forward, and there has been investment out in the park as well. The Smith Building has been remodeled in the last year.
Right. And we're not finished yet, but hopefully we got the state done their inspection last week, and we passed except for two things, and it's very, very minor.
Yeah.
And the inspection will be done, and we're going to pave the west side parking lot, and that so people can come into the west door. That'll be the main entrance of the Smith Building. Have you been in there?
Yeah, I have. I did. We after the building opened and before all 4-H activities were prohibited, we did have a single junior leader meeting out there. Probably, I guess it would have been February. Sure, February or very early March. So I got a chance to look in there. It looked great.
I know we're very impressed, and we'll have an open house so everybody can come in and see it. And, the cafeteria area. The kitchen area is very nice, attached to the upstairs, and pretty impressive, really.
Yep.
So
progress has been made. Oh, and then the other stakeholder I said is the golf course, right? So the golf course was sold, and that's a third party deal as well now. So there are so many dynamics. People drive by and see the park and say, "Oh gosh, it's the park," but then you realize that if you have all of the stakeholders, and they're all boards, it's not just one person that's in charge, but there are probably 50 people that are on a board that is tied to something in that park.
That's correct.
It's not, Congress doesn't agree. And by the way, they're almost all volunteers too.
That's right. They all are volunteers. And that's what makes it difficult. And the funding sources for the park is tight. You know that.
Oh yeah.
And it's getting worse. And we got to find alternatives. If they're donations, or it's not going to survive. And that's what we got to work on.
And that's the strategy that you've seen in place is that the different portions of the park have been leased to organizations that are responsible for the maintenance and driving them forward.
Right.
So the Saddle Club takes care of the Saddle Club grounds and the maintenance and the buildings and the infrastructure.
Right.
For that area. The Expo board handles the new county fairground space.
Right. You still on the board?
I am not. No, I'm not on that board.
You helped direct that. Draw the rules and stuff up.
I helped get started and served about a year, and then that was the end of my time.
It's a slow process, and it takes money, and they're fundraising, and they have got substantial money.
Yep.
And I'm not sure they got enough to cover it all yet, but this virus is going to slow it down, I'm sure. But they are getting ready to start on the new shelter, the Phillips shelter that was at the top of the hill down by the Saddle Club is going to the southwest corner, and there'll be restrooms actually in that shelter. And it'll be a nice facility. So, and that should hopefully by the middle of June be finished.
Very good. You good with the Doughboy? No changes to the Doughboy. No second Doughboy. Second or
that's
third.
a topic I didn't get involved in. That's it. And then I value everybody's opinion on that, and I respect everybody's opinion. So,
well, some opinions, but
we understand.
We have a. There's a council member that's saying that he wants the Doughboy moved back now, but he's the council and they can't do anything about the Doughboy.
A council candidate or a council member?
Council candidate, I think.
A council candidate.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I say member?
Yeah.
You did.
Oh, I meant candidate. Yeah.
That's not a county council issue. Really.
Yeah.
They have funding, right? That's the
right. That's done through all donations. Though.
Correct. Yeah. So ultimately, and this is the nuance of understanding county government is mind numbing sometimes, but there are 3 county commissioners, and the county commissioners appoint a 5-member board.
Right, that's correct.
Over the park.
That's correct.
And then they hire a superintendent who reports to them.
Right.
But then purchase orders and expenses get approved by the commissioners again. Right. So it's the system of checks and balances that are there. So it is, if you want something simple and one person to be able to be in charge, then don't ask government to do it.
Well, it's hard. That's like the Smith building.
Yeah.
The construction or renovation cost was almost $830,000. We had to cut down to 640,000. So we had to make some cuts because we don't go over because that's all the
You had
money
to
we got.
take some of the skylights out. And things,
Yeah, we had to take some of the skylights and other things out. So we had to live within our budget.
The Ed Tarantino jacuzzi did not make the cut. He was really.
Are you sure about that?
Well, I guess I didn't look in that the old spare bathroom, but the men's room and the women's room didn't have the jacuzzi that I thought he was going to get put in there. So I don't know. Ed lost out on that one.
Right, but we do have ADA facilities, and that's good.
Yes.
Ed strikes me as more of a sauna man, not a jacuzzi man.
But we wouldn't go tell the whole story.
All right, and then I'm going to move back up here. I have a couple more questions on our show notes. So 2 questions in one statement. Describe your vision if you were elected for the future of Henry County.
Well, my vision is to work with the EDC like we have. And usually I go through each step that we've taken in the last 6 or 8 years and progressed in the future. But we have to work with Corey Murphy and the EDC Commission, the RDC, to try to draw more business here. But we also, like the Memorial Park, we need to try to enhance the quality of life for our community and stuff. Used to, you go solicit businesses and bring them in and offer tax abatements and stuff to the county and stuff, but they're trying to get us to go away from that. The better we can.
Who's they? The council or the state or
the state and the
Just
EDC.
say.
Right.
You know.
Right. I go to trainings.
Well, it starts to sound like Mel Gibson and conspiracy theory.
Right. No.
I want to know.
I go to conferences through 9-Star across the United States. In many communities, they're telling us economic development leadership is telling us work on improving your quality of life in your community, and they will come. Like the mayor's working on the Broad Street project.
Right.
That is a positive. Still got a lot of work to do. If the expo or any facility in the parks that we can increase or make better and make an attraction,
Show off the assets instead of dropping the taxes and luring somebody in.
We got to improve our quality of life.
What you offer.
Right. And the walking trails, that's a big asset to our community. And I should probably walk them a lot more. So should Jeremiah.
we all should. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. And that's,
well, I'll tell you what. I live in Henry County.
Right.
And I had this dream that I was going to be able to walk from my house down the new walking trail all the way to Riley Road and beyond and get to all of the trails. And then they stopped the walking path about 800 feet short. So I got to walk on Main Street in the county, and I kind of got hosed.
I like how you said walking path and not sidewalk.
It's a walking path because it's asphalt. It's not concrete. God, we found every controversy possible tonight. This is going well.
Well, before the virus, I was walking this 5 miles a day, but I was walking it at Walmart, Kroger, Meijer.
What Walmart, Kim? What Walmart are you?
Well, I went to Newcastle some too.
Is there a Henry County Meijer? I don't know. I don't recognize.
In Anderson, I did that. Menards. And I walk the trails.
Yep.
And it's good. So
yeah, we've talked about the trails and we've talked about parks and something we commented on in the show is there are so many different groups and stakeholders involved in the number of parks we have, right? So you'll get a phone call and say, "Hey, what's going on in Baker Park?" And you say, "Well, that's not me. That's the mayor. Call the city of Newcastle."
Right.
Memorial Park is the one park that the county controls. Right. You can advocate for and sell, when you're doing a pitch and you're trying to bring somebody in, you say, "Hey, we have a state park. We have a Summit Lake State Park. We have Westwood and Westwood, Reservoir." There are a number of items to market in the community, but folks don't always understand what board is responsible for. Hey, why is the city park closed, but the county thing's okay? And it once again, this COVID deal brought more light to, well, who's in charge of this thing?
Right. And that's government. And that you're right. It's government bureaucracy, and it gets confusing, very confusing. And
the more you do it, the more secondhand it becomes. And it's just, oh yeah, this is what this is. Right. But if you're John Doe who's just trying to go to the park, you don't know that there are 5 different park systems.
Right. That's right. And the good thing about this community is people love our community. And I see that every day. And people do thank you for what you do. And many of our office holders and our employees and for the park and stuff. And you get complaints too, but all you can do is do your best. And as a elected official, we do it because we love our community. We don't do it for the money. We do it to try to enhance our community. So,
All right. So the second, I guess you kind of answered that question. Would it be safe to assume that your main kind of focus is just continued economic development in the county? Or should you be elected again?
Well, that's one of the priorities. Enhancing or making roads better in the community would be great, but we're limited on the funds that we have available. We have made progress. We've got we've in the past current year we got our $3 million we've got from the state on road money, and I just again quality of life is important, and that means a lot today. So,
All right. This is a very unique question that I never thought we'd get into on this show, but the council made it an issue earlier this month, and we talked to Bobby about it. So I want to be fair and ask you as well. The council unanimously asked for the resignation of the county coroner. Any interaction, feedback, response from the commissioners, from your view as a commissioner to one county branch asking for the resignation of another county officer, or how that should be handled?
I'm not going to second guess the county council.
Right.
There was concerns that was expressed to the county commissioners regarding some of the items, and I don't know what concerns was expressed to them, and I respect the opinion they have. I don't know if I agree, but I don't know the details. When we got concerns about some of the stuff that was allegedly going on, we investigated with the health department, checked into it. We met with Mr. Hacker and his wife, and one of them was the opioid addiction services, as far as getting grants and stuff. And there was a question about entering statistics in the statewide computer and stuff. And we was able to work with him regarding that. We worked with the Attorney General's office and the Coroners Association, trying to see if we were meeting the criteria that they was laying forth. And when we left the meeting, everything seemed to be fine, and the commissioner didn't proceed with any other action. If we felt, according to state law, that there was a problem at that point, now that's been a year ago, that we have the right to cut the salary.
Okay.
And at that time, we did not determine that there was reason to cut the salary at that point. So
that was that issue a year ago, and then the action the council took at this point was in relation to Coroner Hacker taking a part-time job or a job out of county down in Evansville.
And he called me. He called me, and he said in the paper that he contacted 2 council members. And when I reviewed the state law and talked to the attorney and stuff, I don't think there is a restriction on that. But we took the perspective to follow the state law on that. So
okay, yeah. All right,
not being critical at all.
Right. It's just a unique. Like, I've paid attention to politics for a long time,
sure,
and I've never seen the situation.
Right.
It's just very. It's hard to know what to make of it, but it's definitely different. Right. So I wanted to see, and then of course it's happening in a pandemic where it's
sure. It makes it more difficult. And we, the commissioners, are not in that battle, and I don't know what information they have and how they're making their decisions and stuff. And I have to respect their decisions. Yeah. I have to respect Mr. Hacker's response. I don't know the total response, but that's something for the council and him to work out, and hopefully they'll come to a good resolution before it's said and done.
All right. Last big topic, right?
That's right. The last big topic is, of course, the Henry County Jail. It's been a big topic. It was a huge topic whenever Jeremiah was running for county council. It's been in decay for decades at this point, because we keep hearing that it was an outdated system whenever it was built, right? That's been the talk at every single meeting, that the pod system was already going away, right? The system that we have in the current jail was already becoming outdated whenever the jail was built. But the new tax money that we have, because I get less money in my paycheck now because of the...
We all do.
Yeah. So...
Kenan says it's not that much. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Quarter a day.
Just a quarter a day.
Yeah.
Do your part. What do you believe is the best course of action? Do you like the way that we're headed with building the new jail, getting the state land and all that?
Oh, definitely. There's a little more history to this. When I was sheriff, the In 1977, I came on the sheriff's department. That's when the jail was built. The prior jail was over 100 years old.
Wow.
And
did that jail get torn down?
It got torn down, and this jail is built
shame.
the same place that jail was.
Oh, okay.
The prototype for the current jail was the prototype that was approved by the state of Indiana for jails in the state of Indiana. The pod system at that time was non-existent. And I'm not sure the
I
age.
misspoke, I think, with the pod system.
Yeah, the pod system is a good system. It gives direct observation of the inmates in the facility. And that's what we're going to. But during the years, there's been several incidents with the jail, but it's not going to be any different with any other jail. You can have a brand new jail. You're still going to have problems. Like GO is a newer prison.
Right.
They still have problems. And it's just, that's what's going to happen. And it's the nature of the beast, but unfortunately, but, the cooperation we're getting the state, we've always saved thousands of dollars through them donating the land. Now we got to get the building, the old administration building at the state hospital. We've got to tear that down. We're doing a environmental phase 1 at this time, and there's some asbestos there, and we're going to have to remove that. There's going to be expense with that, but the land is basically for free, and the state's given us that for $1. But the condition of that is if we ever move away from that location, the state gets the land back. And the good thing about being where we're putting it is the city has the infrastructure there for the water, the sewage.
Because it's adjacent to the GO facility.
Right, and minimizes. So the state is going to partner with us on those facilities, the state infrastructure money on that too. So we're going to assume the road that goes beside the prison back, and we'll be maintaining that as a county road into the facility. So we're still working on that. So
what kind of a timeline? This is everything moves at the speed of smell in government.
Right.
So when are we talking about, hey, you've got a budget, this is what we're going to pay, and we're going to start construction, and this is when we're going to move people in?
Right.
Rough numbers.
Estimated start of it, hopefully by October of this year. Completion date, the middle to end of 2022.
Okay.
So that's we met today, and that's our goal.
Man,
but there's
2022. Come on, Kim. We can go out there with some bricks. Get that done.
I understand, but there's other issues and the steel in the facility and things like that. And it'll go out to bid hopefully soon. And we're trying to get the criteria ready for the bidding of the project. And we've already got the architects and the engineers hired.
We're going to be using union labor for that, right? I would hope so.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're gonna build it to whatever the state law requires. there are prevailing wages in the community, and that's what they end up having to use.
Right. I'll give you an example.
There's books for all of it.
That's right. Like the airport. When we expanded the airport, we used union labor, the wage level, but we took county employees, gave them union wages to do that with the cooperation of the unions.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we
that's
all
awesome.
work together
That's
to
a really neat
save
thing.
money, and that work together. We used to have a board, and we had to have people
Union wage board.
Well, we had to have people sit on that board, and we decided if we union or non-union. And unions sometimes won out. Sometimes they didn't.
Right after high school, I joined the electrical union in Muncie,
Right.
and I worked with a gentleman who was older, and someone asked me to. He was a journeyman. Asked me to go ask him if he knows anything about the prison in Newcastle. And I said, hey, have you been to, or were you at the prison in Newcastle project? Because I heard that was a great job to be on. And he said, stayed there or worked in it? Because I did both.
Well, Davis Bacon wages is union wages, and that's what we pay.
So Mike Broyles is in the chat, and this is the same thing that we asked last week for Mike. What happens with the old facility and the maintenance? So that you have the work release facility, you've got the old facility there, and then last week the question for Bobby was, how do you pay for it? Once you build this new building, how do you make sure that we're not replacing again in 45 years?
That's a good issue.
I want to make sure that my son's taxes don't go up,
right?
Just like mine did.
That's going to be an issue, and we're in a transition period where the state's trying to throw the inmates back on us, which they have. The level 6 offenders, they threw them back on us. Now we have to pick up the expense for that. The current facility, as of today, when I was in the meeting, is 248 cells. Of that, there is rehabilitation programming in there. Now, we're not sure on the old jail and the work release center uptown. And our original intent may be converting one of those through grants into a rehabilitation center to help the community with the drug problem, opiate problem, and work from that angle. Now, we're working with several of the rehab providers here in our community now to just in discussions regarding that.
So potentially keeping one of those buildings in the county inventory.
That's possibly, yes. And funding is always going to be the issue. And through grants, though, we can resolve some of that. So
we had this discussion a while back on the show, and came up with the idea that the county sells the old jail and converts it into a brewery for beer.
There you go.
Yeah. Don't you think that would make a good little
Yes.
brew pub area?
There you go.
Make it jail themed and stuff.
That's right.
Keep up the razor wire, and then turn the cells into booths.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you drink too much, we always got a place for to sleep, right?
That's true. Yes.
You can sleep it
And
off.
then we got basketball courts inside.
Well,
You
the
play
sheriff's
basketball.
department
You
is
got room
still
for
there.
activities.
Right?
That's right. There you go.
All right. So one last thing from the chat here that I'm watching, then we'll start to wrap up the show. I'm seeing a lot of folks talking about July 4th and Memorial Park. I know the Chamber of Commerce, Chris, that is responsible for the Memorial Day Parade.
That is correct.
And they had to pull the plug on that here in the last couple of weeks. Any decisions made on July 4th fireworks and getting together? I know that's when the governor is trying to reopen the state. Is that the commissioners? Is that the park board? Who's going to be responsible for that?
We decided at our last meeting. As the headlines in the Courier Times said, the 4th of July is green lighted at this point. But here's the condition. It's still going, but we've got to monitor the numbers. And what the governor does, if the governor changes, the 4th will be off. Our alternate date is Labor Day, which is September 7th.
So if the county reaches stage 5, July 4th,
right,
it can go forward as normal.
Right.
Okay.
And each step we will evaluate it. If we get to September and we have hot spots on the virus and stuff, and we're going up, we may have to continue it again. Public safety is the first priority. So
okay.
And then one other thing that was going on in the chat, back to the jail conversation, has there been any talk about reducing the amount of people in the jail, or either? So there's two ways you can go. You can reduce the number of people in jail by laxing, like Marion County did, and we talked about this with Joe, the county prosecutor, the amount of people that are charged with crimes, or where you come in as the executive branch of county government, enforcing more ordinances or tightening down on crime, trying to get the council to approve budgetary funds for more sheriff's deputies, or expanding. Sorry, I spit on that one. Expanding the amount of reserves.
Yeah.
I don't think I made it to you. We're
Right
distanced.
that's why you had the windscreen there.
Yeah, we're socially distanced. It's
that's
okay.
right. Okay.
But maybe even expanding the reserve program.
Sure. I started out as a reserve officer, but
And then you just wanted the money. You had to get paid.
yeah, well, it wasn't much. I started out at $8,600 a year,
If you're
full time.
Well, hell,
If you
that's
go-
your taxes now.
That's right.
If you go into law enforcement
That
for
damn
money,
council.
I think you're doing it for the wrong
That's
reason.
right. The issue we're going to be dealing with now is it's going to take probably between $22 and $25 million for the new facility, and we're going to have to bond for that. Now, we had a plan. We still have the plan, but when the juvenile center was built, we've paid that off. Then we built the Justice Center. The Justice Center bond goes off in 2024, if not before, and that money will cost, if it's not directed, that will lower the taxes at that point because that's property tax related. So the
Bond service goes directly to property taxes.
Now, some stuff you're referring to, when I was sheriff, we did it different, not being critical of anybody. I understand the philosophy. We had a setup where we did work release, community service, and the offenders was able to earn days off of their sentence, and it helped reduce the people and the amount of people we had in the jail. We still had a lot, but they give them some incentive and kind of try to do away with some of the problems. And that's where we're going to have to work with the community to do that, because it's a difficult thing. And they do some of it now, but it's community corrections and community service. That's probably another entity that we need to work out. Hiring sheriff deputies is going to be hard at this point for enforcement, because we have to evaluate the staffing at the new jail as compared to the old jail. Hopefully it'll be less, but usually it's not less. So.
Surely you've got a number of other counties that have come about and built jails to base that on, right? Rush County just down the road just built one. Delaware County's moving into one. You've got new jails all over the state. Right. Adams County, I think, is the one that we're kind of basing our
Adams and Decatur,
stuff, right?
Yes.
To work at the jail, to be a jailer, do you have to be a sheriff's deputy, or is there?
No, you're a special deputy.
Okay.
There's a difference between there's different levels of the sheriff's department. There's merit deputies. That's your enforcement officers on the road. Then you have your correction officers inside, and then you have your civilian control room deputies. They're all deputized, but they're called special deputies.
Okay.
And they have enforcement powers, but not the same.
I got you.
Yeah, so there's different levels of it.
I guess I didn't realize there was a corrections officers for the county jail.
Right, and they have to go to training through the state through a certain. I think they have to go through school. I think it's 3 or 6 weeks. I'm not sure, and get certification as correction officers by state standards.
It's almost a 50-50 split in headcount, right? I mean, somewhere in that range between your road team and detectives versus the in-house staff.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, and then we may have to put more correction officers. We're selling a litigation lawsuit right now in the old jail till we get to the new jail. So that's something we have to reevaluate. So.
All right. Let's start to put a pin in the conversation and work our way through final thoughts and clean up anything that we've forgotten. Chris, I'm going to go over to you. Is there anything that we wanted to cover? You needed?
Yeah. So there's one big thing. As we know, Monday is Memorial Day. It's a somber event. You should actually. I just ask, and this isn't for every other veteran or anything like that, but Memorial Day is not for us. It is not for the ones that are still alive. It's for the ones that died. So please don't thank me for my service during that time. I don't like it at all anyways, but especially on Memorial Day, I actually get kind of angry and bent out of shape about it, because that is not my day. There is a day, Veterans Day. It's at a later point in time. But again, Memorial Day is for those that have died during their service. It's not for us that are alive.
Or those that came home and died.
So,
all right, Kim. Is there anything that we forgot to cover? Or do you think we got the campaign? The campaign covered, the issues and the objects of the era.
Right. I'd just like to say that my objective at this point in my life is I've dedicated my whole life to the county, and I love Henry County, and I will continue to work 8 hours, 12 hours a day for Henry County. I'm retired from the Sheriff's Department, and I'm not doing it for the money. I just want to make our community a good and great community, and with which we have what I call on my shirt, Henry County Pride.
There you go.
I have pride, and I think a lot of people in this community does, and we need to work together and try to get the controversy behind us and move on, because it's a win-win for our community.
If folks are interested in the campaign, how do they support you? Donate money. You're not doing the door-to-door thing because of the virus, but yard signs, how does that work?
If they want a yard sign, they can call my number. It's 545-0332, 24 hours a day. I'll be glad to do
24. Call them at 2 in the morning.
A long time ago, I've ran off office several times. I don't take money. I try to fund my own campaign. I always have. I won't say always, but in the last 20 years I have. That way I don't owe anybody anything, and that way there's no sway, and I can say that money is not the issue to me on that. So.
All right.
Well, there's a guy that I know of who's local in the county, and he puts together campaign signs, and he does social media ads and things.
This sounds like a sales pitch.
Yeah. That guy's me.
Oh, is that right? Hey, I was going to ask you a question. I was told to ask you this question. We're getting ready to put video equipment into the courtroom and stuff, and they told me to ask you to help us do it.
Yeah, well, I told Bobby last week that if she got elected, then she could handle the Facebook Live, and I'd handle all of the audio equipment.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go. So you got to volunteer.
There you go.
I would gladly volunteer because we used to go to the courthouse and do a lot of the council meetings and the commissioner meetings and things, but it's just it's near impossible because of the
To do it portable.
Yeah,
And going off of acoustics in the room.
yeah, just because you're trying to record, you're trying to live stream like we were, and no one could hear it.
Right.
So it was kind of a waste of time.
Right.
And so I would be happy to try to help any way that I could. with
Okay,
that.
well, I got the proposal sitting on my desk, and I was going
There we
through
go.
it today. You have by far more experience than I do. If you want to stop up there and look at them and give us some recommendations, because we're at the point we're ready to start.
Absolutely would. It's not something that's going to be terribly expensive.
Right.
And it's I mean, we have our setup here, and it's probably just $1,500 worth of equipment that we have sitting in this room to make the live stream happen.
Right.
With the plus or minus, of course, the laptop.
Right. Well, we're doing
That's-
audio too.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's what I mean. Even
try
with
to,
the audio,
to
it's-
improve the acoustics in the room. Well, I promise you, it's more than $1,500 the bid we got. So
Yeah.
you can look at it.
I assume.
Yeah. So, but I would
I'll
like
help
you to
any
come
way
and
I
look
can.
at it, because
The biggest thing, Kim, honestly, is just making sure that people use their microphones.
Sure,
And if you can take the audio away from the microphones, then you do away with the acoustic problems.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing.
Right.
I know from experience, being in a multitude of meetings, not a lot of people use their microphones.
I agree with that 100%. Matter of fact, you have to stop the meeting and say, would you please use your microphone?
Yeah, and that's an issue.
If
but
it
it's something
didn't, if
that
it
can
didn't
be
get set
worked
into
out.
a microphone, it didn't happen. That could be the
Yeah.
policy.
Right.
All right.
All right. The anything else on your side?
Yeah, I have a couple of final thoughts. First of all, I got a new roof. We talked about it a few weeks ago on the Patreon side. I really want to give a shout out to Mr. Sean Tabor with Tabor Home Exteriors. He did a great job. I have a decent sized house, and I have
It's average, 8,000 square feet. It's not anything
perfectly
elaborate.
average.
It's very it's right in Spiceland.
He and his crew worked from they got it done in a day, and it's just a little over 2,500 square feet. Honestly, my house is, and there's a lot of hips and valleys. I have a couple of skylights, legitimately, and they worked around it. They went above and beyond. They
get
were
building
absolutely
permit through the county?
fantastic. That's not my job as the homeowner.
You have the right to remain silent.
That's as far as I know, that's the contractor's responsibility.
Oh, we've heard this before.
Yeah. I'm just going to argue that until I'm blue in the face.
We'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll see you later, Kim. No, but seriously though, Sean did an absolutely fantastic job. I couldn't be happier with them. And then, oh shoot, I had a couple of other things that I was going to clean up here, but
That's all right. I got one
remember.
prepared, and if you remember it, come back
All
at
right.
me. We've been following the presidential race, and Justin Amash
Yeah.
had jumped in running for the Libertarian National Convention nomination. The convention is Saturday. They're doing it online. It's all through Zoom because nobody can meet in person anymore. Justin Amash dropped out on Saturday. So we've been covering that. He was the first congressman in the Libertarian Party, and he dropped out. So that was unexpected. And now they're going to pick somebody. So I think there were tokens that went in today. There's like 8 people that are going to make the stage on
5.
On 5 people.
Yeah. 5 people
that are going to make the stage.
Hornberger, and I know Vernon.
Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah, JoJo.
John
then-
Mons, Vermin Supreme.
Yeah, he got the
Blue
last
Dot's head.
one. He got the last one. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Vermin Supreme didn't make the last one though, so he's right on the cusp.
Yeah, he's 100. He got
Yeah.
100 tokens.
Yeah. So apparently you vote. If you're a delegate, you vote based on, you basically give a token, which is hey, I want this person on the stage.
Are
or
you
to be
in on
considered.
the joke?
I am not in on the joke.
That is the
That's the tagline now. If that guy wins, he's a non-starter. He and Amash or he and
I watched his
Adam Kopesh.
I watched
are
some
just
of his
no-go
campaign
for me.
ads, and they were inspiring. But they would be more inspiring if he was an independent.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Well, I guess we'll know who the three candidates in the country who are probably going to be on the ballots in all 50 states are going to be known by the end of the weekend. So you know it's Trump. You know it's Biden, and
Creepy
you're
Joe.
going to know who the Libertarian is.
Yep.
So that's
I know what my other final thought was.
good.
The apartment above Boss Hog Liberty Studios.
Chris Guffey's renting that. I heard.
Is he?
Not yet.
Seemed final to me.
It is for rent. We need a good neighbor, someone who isn't stomping around upstairs every Thursday night. So preferably just someone single, or Chris Guffey.
Oh yeah,
I just wanted to give a shout out to him.
yeah. It's absolutely beautiful.
It is. He did a great job. You know, Mike has been a fantastic landlord for us. Mike and his cousin Scott, they've been absolutely great. I know that they did a great job with all the renovations that they did in the studio, so I'm sure that they did just as good of a job upstairs as well.
Very good. All right. With that, I think we'll thank Kim very much for joining us. Hopefully this wasn't too painful. You enjoyed it. We'll have you back again.
Yes, we'll have to have you if you make it through the primary. We'll have to have you back again in the fall with Chris Newkirk.
That's fine.
Well, Newkirk is in the South. This is
Oh yeah,
there is
no one filed.
There is nobody
It's so
filed in
confusing.
the middle district at this point.
That's
so
correct.
right now it's Steve Dellinger and Kim for the middle district on the Republican side. No other candidates filed. There's still time. There's still another 2 months to go before the final ballots are known. Who's
maybe
gonna
there will
where.
be a libertarian challenger. We'll have you sitting in here with.
That's okay.
You never know.
knows?
Everybody gets to interview for their job.
That's right.
All right. With that, we will see you guys on Tuesday of next week. Monday is the Memorial Day holiday. Tuesday, our plan is to have all four of the Republican county council candidates on. The Democrats, there are 2 candidates running for 3 spots, so they're all going to advance. So we're not going to go through the process this cycle with them. But our final candidate series event is going to be Tuesday night. I believe we have confirmed with all 4 of the county council candidates on
That
the
is correct.
Republican side. So look for that Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. We'll see y'all then.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at wearelibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to wearelibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.